It should come as no surprise to anyone that we are living in a world that demands our attention and distracts us 24/7. I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can start to build laser focus in a world of distraction, because this is something that I have gone through myself, struggled immensely with my own focus, and I want to be able to share the solutions that I've been able to create with myself so that you can solve that for you as well. And we're going to dive right in. So, this guide is going to synthesize two key principles around focus. And it's one, focus by elimination, allowing focus to be the natural state that remains when you remove distractions, and two, focus as a skill. So, focus is not something that you're going to be able to master and achieve overnight. It's going to be a lot easier as you remove those distractions, but it's a trainable skill that you can strengthen over time. So, this is the step by step process that follows both elimination of distractions and skill acquisition for focus. So, step one is to actually invert the problem that we see as focus. So instead of trying to focus or trying to build and gain focus, you should instead ask yourself, what is distracting me? What is hindering me from being able to focus? There are two sides of the coin. Like it's good to invert the problem, to see the negative side, to understand fully how to avoid those problems so that you can reach the solution faster. So the way that the mind works is that it defaults to the path of least resistance and actually remembers specific behaviors. And if someone like you might be chronically distracted, like I once was, your mind will default to them. So, say, for example, that you subconsciously pull out your phone from your pocket, unlock it with your the set of keys or whatever passcode you have, and you just open a certain app or a certain set of apps like Discord, or maybe you're checking your emails or Instagram, TikTok, whatever the case. You are effectively, if it's a subconscious thing, you are effectively training your brain to remember that pattern, and it's going to become that path of least resistance for you. Your neural pathways are strengthened from those behaviors. So the moment when you're trying to sit down and do the work that you face, you're going to have this urge to pull your phone, do all that. So recognize that you have that problem and have that self awareness first, so that you can start taking action on removing that distraction. So, one thing you can do immediately is to try to make a list of every single thing that breaks your concentration the most. So, this could look different for everyone. So, like for example, the phone is a common example for millions of people, I'm sure. That could be email for you, pop ups, notifications. It could be clutter in your environment. It's not always the digital distractions that we face, but sometimes it's our physical distractions in our environment. If we have clutter in our rooms, in our kitchens, in whatever, then that can pull away from whatever we need to get done. Hunger could be one. So like if you're hungry, if you're starving, your stomach's growling, that can derail your focus and distract you from what you want to accomplish. So make a list of what are your common distractions so that you can uh, start to make those eliminations, and that will step into step two to remove the external distractions. So, what I've noticed about distractions and trying to create focus is a lot about friction. And we want to create and remove friction uh, from the things that distract us and what we want to work on, respectively. So, if there are any apps that are not essential to you, for example, like on your phone, it's probably best that you delete them. It's if you don't need them, if they're not essential to you for your work or for your personal life, then what reason is there for it to be on your phone in the first place? So it's best to outright delete them, create that friction so that you don't access those apps that are distracting you. And also, this might not, like, just deleting alone might not be enough. You might also need to create the physical distance while you're working. So when I am working a lot myself, I am typically away from my phone, physically distant from my phone. Or if I still need my phone in the workplace, I usually keep it out of eyesight or without, so I don't physically see it within my environment. So I probably put it in my desk drawer or something, and then access it whenever I need. So it's mostly about creating friction from the distractions. And another thing too is to block the digital noise that you have. So if you're working on a computer, for example, turning off email, chat notifications on your computer are going to be very important for this aspect. So again, that's basically touching on the friction points that's going to pull you away from what you want to be able to ultimately accomplish. If if email isn't as important to you as someone else might, because I know email is pretty much an essential task for many, or following up with people, DMing people, reaching out to people on social media, etc., whatever the case. Uh, if you are doing a deep work session, and we'll touch on that later, then this digital noise is going to pull you away from being able to focus. So it's about a lot about friction. Now we're going to be moving on to step three, and is to overcome the internal distractions that happen. So, uh, of course, like even when you try to remove things from your external environment, there's going to be things that are going to be within you internally in your mind that is going to affect your ability to focus. And one of the things that we can do to start overcoming these internal distractions is to reduce the decision fatigue we make on a daily basis. See, we make tens of thousands of these little micro decisions every day, and some macro decisions, like the bigger decisions, like the tasks we do. But these micro decisions that we make, such as what am I going to wear today? What exercise am I going to do? What food am I going to eat? Uh, what like when do I need to go to the bathroom? Things like that. So many non-essential things that like bombard our decision making, that exhausts a lot of mental energy. So we need to start simplifying our decisions on these non-essential things, such as what you wear, what you eat, etc. For me, I don't necessarily like say that you should wear the same clothes every day. Some people might do that. You might see Alex Hermosi, for example, say, "Oh, you should wear the same clothes every day." Or, well, he's not probably saying that you should, but that's what he does basically, uh, because that removes a lot of decision fatigue for him. For me, I try to keep it simple. I don't really care too much about what I wear generally. I have easy access to just pick what I want to wear, and I don't really have many decisions on that specifically. But it's just those simple things that if you could remove as many decisions as possible. And another big thing is what you eat. So for me, for breakfast, for example, I usually eat the same breakfast every day. It's like scrambled eggs, Greek yogurt, and granola mixed in with it. It's pretty simple, and it gives me a good amount of protein and whatnot. So it's it doesn't get I don't think about like what am I going to make for breakfast or whatever the case. So making those decisions on like your things outside of your work, even throughout your life, is going to be very important to reduce as much decision fatigue as possible. And we're going to also touch on the deep work and the shallow or the busy work things with internal distractions. So we have a state of concentration, whether it be high concentration and low concentration. And if you, the best way to do this is to batch time with deep work and busy work, and to not mix them in between. You want to be able to schedule them for separate times or days. And the reason being, we, if you try to mix this busy work with low concentration and try to shift your attention from low to high concentration, you're there's an effect called attention residue, and that is going to bleed into your ability to focus. You want to reduce the amount of attention residue you have throughout the day, and to be able to do this is to schedule the times of deep work and busy work. For example, my mornings are often made of deep work sessions, while the afternoon serves as busy work sessions. So for me, I'm on the school platform. If you might have heard of that, it's a community-based platform. So I make comments on school, I engage with people, do outreach. So I do DMs on there, and that's basically the busy work, like and following up with emails, following up with people, things like that. In the deep work sessions, these are my high concentration areas where I'm doing creative work, do my writing, making outlines for YouTube videos, recording the YouTube videos, actually doing the creative, uh, cognitively demanding tasks that uh, are only beneficial through deep work sessions. And if I'm mixing this with busy work, such as like trying to follow up with emails or things like that, then my ability to focus is greatly hindered. Um, so that is an important thing to think about. Um, so step 4 is to start training your focus. So we talked about focus by elimination. So we want to invert the problem of try instead of try to focus, we want to eliminate the distractions, and then like removing the external and the internal distractions. So now we're moving on to focus as a skill, and it's to train your focus. Um, and I had this little biblical verse that I saw um, that really reminded me of this, and it was Proverbs 4:25. Let your eyes look straight ahead and fix your gaze directly before you. And this is an important piece to think about, even though it's like the context of fixing your gaze on Jesus Christ. Um, this is still a principle that applies in the real world, because mental focus actually follows visual focus, provided that you're sighted, of course. Imagine if you're watching this video, you're using your eyes to watch it, and of course, you're using your ears to listen as well. But generally speaking, for most people who are sighted, mental focus follows visual focus. If we fix our gaze on something, we have this cone of vision that is we gaze our attention towards a specific common point. So it's important to know that, because like when our we are scanning our environment every single second, whether we realize it or not. We have our focused common point, and then we have our peripheral vision that is not uh, we're not able to create those big details from the outside, from the periphery, but we could start to make this high details more focused on the central point. So what we could do as a 1 minute drill or 60-second drill is to start staring at a single small visual point on your screen or your page, or whatever the task you're working on. If you have to focus visually on that thing, stare at it, like put your gaze onto it, and this starts to narrow your visual field and starts to trigger the release of focus neurochemicals such as norepinephrine, epinephrine, acetylcholine. Um, so these are core functions of the brain that are going to start narrowing your focus towards that specific task. And this is important to follow, like, because when I recognize myself, if I am not focused on a task and if I end up being distracted by something is taking my attention, and generally speaking, it's taking my eyesight away from that task. So for a phone, for example, if I were to pull out my phone, that is taking my attention a lot, and uh, the best way to do this is to try to narrow your visual field on the task in front of you, uh, to start building that focus over time. And we're going to look at this more practically in step 5. well, actually the next few steps. So and when we talk about deep work and shallow or busy work, we're going to talk about deep work blocks. So the best way to do this is to start setting a timer for yourself. So for me, I like to use a physical timer. You could use this on your computer as well, but it's cool to have a physical timer to be able to commit to a certain time on one task. You can set up to 90 minutes, or however long you can reasonably sustain. So if you're doing this as a beginner, like who's still trying to build their focus, uh, who is chronically distracted, it might be better to do like 25 minutes or 20 minutes, 30 minutes, things like that. Start small and start to focus only on the task at hand. And throughout this time, your mind is going to start to drift, which is going to be completely normal. My mind starts to drift as well. Like I'm not a master of focus myself, but I've been able to build this skill over time, and I'm a lot better at it now than I was in the past. So instead of trying to think your way back to the task, visually look at the task in front of you. Like I mentioned before, your visual focus. That's when your mental focus follows it. So that's an important aspect. And step 6 is the intentional rest. So after these deep work blocks, you want to actively disengage from that task. So obviously, our focus is going to be finite. We don't have all the mental resources and capacity available to focus for 24 hours a day. That's just not possible. Like we generally shift in states of focus. So after a deep work block, actively disengage and start to practice at least 10 to 20 minutes of non-sleep deep rest or NSDR, such as the walking and meditation. So I like to walk a lot. I have a neighborhood that I love to walk around, and I do take about 10 to 20 minutes after each big work session to just actively disengage. And another thing too, I don't bring my phone either. I'm not here to stimulate myself to this is like the active disengaging. You don't want to disengage from a work block and decide to pull up your phone and scroll Instagram. That's not what this is about. Um, you want to have this intentional time of rest for your mind so that you could quickly rest and recover to go back to the task at hand, or maybe you move on to another task after this deep work session. So that's what I do a lot, and I think it'll benefit you as well. Um, and then step 7, starve the compulsions. So I did touch about this a little bit before. You're going to feel the urge to distract yourself, and again, this is typical. So uh, if you have that path of least resistance of like opening your phone, unlocking it, etc., that's that's a compulsion that you have like subconsciously. And the more you recognize that habit, try to catch it and not act on it, you're starving that bad neural pathway and strengthening better ones. And by as a byproduct, you're going to strengthen your focus as a result. So you want to starve that compulsion so it weakens over time, because by default, like, well, not by default, but as we train our brains for certain behaviors, those pathways are strengthened, and they can be very strong. And it's hard in the beginning to create these new habits and new better habits that are going to replace those negative ones. So it's going to be uncomfortable at first, and I have definitely had this uncomfortability myself when I first started like my own entrepreneurial journey, trying to start a business, trying to focus on work that actually mattered to me, and like these urges were very strong, very very strong. So I just had to recognize these habits that were pulling me away, uh, and to physically just remind myself not to act on it. Like I had to catch on it and not act on it. so that I can start to focus more on what matters. Um, so I hope these 7 steps provided some good insights for you and how you can actually get better focus throughout your life, not just by forcing focus. And we're not trying to force focus here. It should be a natural state that you can still build over time. Um, so one of the lessons learned, if we're going to summarize this, before you could build focus, start to remove the distractions that are happening in your life, uh, reducing the amount of decisions you need to make each day. So the decision fatigue that happens, separating deep and busy work, so the creative, cognitively demanding tasks versus the non-cognitively demanding tasks like emails, following up with people, uh, things like that, and then recognize that mental focus follows the visual focus. Fix your gaze on what truly matters. So hopefully this helped you out. And if you are a school creator yourself, if you are watching this video and you are struggling with distractions yourself, I would love to be able to help you. You can book below in the description. But hopefully this helps, and have a good one.